Hey, what's going on? Back at it today. Wanted to bring you in the gym with me again and just kind of hang out and talk about some things that have been on my mind in regards to jiu-jitsu. And one thing that's been on my mind is that moment in your jiu-jitsu journey whenever you are a white belt and things start to really click. You know, where you start to understand what mount feels like, what side control feels like, and in your rolls, they start to feel real smooth. And then you progress and you go to blue and to purple, and just that whole feeling of going through that. And then there's this thing that happens in the middle of that, and it's this idea that nobody should give you a hard time when you get to blue, or let me rephrase that. White belts shouldn't give you a hard time when you get to blue, and when you get to purple, you may feel like a blue belt and a white belt shouldn't give you a hard time. And let's go up to brown. Purple belt shouldn't give you a hard time. And I think that concept or that perspective is inaccurate and incorrect. When I first started, obviously I didn't know a whole lot, and I was a spazzy white belt, and I used a lot of strength to just stay alive. And then I know a couple months in, things started to make sense. And that's something about jiu-jitsu that I think is very interesting, that within just a few months, you could become dangerous in the skill. So when you first start, you may not understand how mount works. You may not understand how kimura works. And then within a few months, you're able to actually understand that position. Obviously not fully, right? You want to understand that position fully, but you could have some understanding of how that position works. And you could be very dangerous in that. So I feel something that's real interesting about jiu-jitsu, and some of you that train other martial arts, maybe Krav Maga or Muay Thai or kickboxing or something else, you would probably say the same thing in some way. Just learning how to punch correctly or kick correctly, even within the first couple months, you would say somebody could possibly defend themselves. And I think that about jiu-jitsu. I think if you came and trained after just a month or two, and if you had to use it, I think you could. I most definitely think you could. So, first started, like I said, not doing so well. A few months in, I started doing better and better. And then it gets to like that year point, whenever you're a white belt at a year, and you're actually moving pretty well. You're still spazzy, but you have a lot more. You've absorbed a lot more during that time, and you've just sponged so much has just been, you've absorbed so much. And then you catch your first blue belt, and possibly at white belt you catch your first purple belt. Okay, and I don't know if all of you experience that. I experienced that. And if you have experienced that, how did that feel? Because I know for me it felt real cool. It was really cool to get that blue belt, to submit a blue belt, or it felt cool to submit a purple belt. And it only happened, I think at white belt I submitted a purple belt maybe twice, maybe just once. I don't remember. I think it was just once or twice. But I caught him with a bicep slicer, and I was told that I wasn't allowed to do the bicep slicer, so I didn't do it again on him after that. The blue belt, I don't remember what I caught him with. I just remember just feeling really cool and like I was doing really good and really thinking high and mighty of myself at white belt. And that's a whole nother topic, because I felt like the coach, that our head professor, was gonna skip my blue belt and just give me a purple belt. I was like, maybe. There's this meme out where this guy's getting choked out. He's getting triangle choked, but he doesn't know it at first. He goes like to this dream where he's getting promoted from white to purple, and it's like, I was down but now I'm up, and he's like getting this purple belt wrapped around him. He just thinks it's so cool, and then he wakes up and they like slap his face and to wake him up, and he was just getting choked out. And so I've been there. I thought I was going to skip blue belt and get purple belt, but I can tell you that whenever I got my blue belt, I realized a whole lot more of how much I really didn't know. Just shows you how prideful we can be, because I definitely was. But yeah, it was super cool to catch a blue belt, super cool to catch a purple belt. And then I think it's, what would you say? Some of y'all may have some responses in the comments. What, 2 years, a year and a half in a white belt, you start just surviving longer? you start doing better, and you're like, dude, I'm doing better against blue belts, purple belts. I'm staying alive longer. They're not able to get me as quick, and you're just noticing that growth taking place, and it's a pretty awesome moment. But then, do you remember when you got your blue belt and that new guy comes in, brand new, fresh guy off the street? I hurt my shoulder, my left shoulder, so I can't do flare out shoulder workouts. I have to do over the head, which I don't really want to, but I need to, because I still need to strengthen my shoulder muscle. But yeah, your brand new blue belt and that white belt comes in, that new guy that doesn't know what he's doing, and you're like, oh yeah, buddy, I'm going to show you some jiu-jitsu. And then you're doing really well, and this guy decides to stay, right? Because some people, they don't stay. They come in for their free class, their free week, and they end up leaving even after a couple months, maybe after a month, they end up leaving. But then that white belt decides to stay. And when he started, you were a blue belt, and you were dominating and doing very, very well against him. Well, then, a year goes by, maybe 2 years, and then you get let's just say you get your 3rd stripe on your blue belt. You're close, maybe 4th stripe blue belt, and you're close to getting your purple belt. And that white belt not only is giving you a hard time after his 2 years, he actually submits you. And you're having to deal with that pride in that moment, and dealing with that emotion of going, oh my goodness, I'm a blue belt and I got caught by a white belt. How is that possible? And that shouldn't be happening. Then you might even have that imposter syndrome and just feel, not worthy to even be at your rank. But that's a wrong perspective. It's a wrong perspective, because you also at one point, myself included, we were both white belts at one point, and we were able to catch that upper belt, and we thought it was pretty cool. So one thing that I don't feel like is really talked about much is the natural progression of jiu-jitsu. I almost want to say the circle of life, like Lion King, but it'd be kind of cheesy to say that. But the natural progression. The new guy is eventually going to get better, just as at one point you were the new guy and eventually got better, and you as the new guy began to give upper belts a hard time. This new guy that you used to just destroy is all of a sudden giving you the hard time. So that transition is going to take place. People are going to get better. It's a natural progression, not just in life, in jiu-jitsu, in any kind of thing that you're learning. What are you trying to learn right now in life? Some of you guys might be in college or at a new trade, and you don't know everything right away, but there comes this period where you have to learn how to do it. And sometimes you can start to learn something and be better than the guy that's been doing it longer, or the girl that's been doing it longer. Just because that's the kind of person you are, you grow differently, you excel differently, and that's okay. Some people learn quicker than other people, But you should never, and this is my opinion, just because at one point you were giving this one person a hard time, or just destroying them, just mauling them on the mat, and then all of a sudden you're not able to do that anymore 2 years down the road, and you're going like, dude, this is odd, this is weird, and you feel like this person shouldn't be giving you a hard time. I think you have a wrong perspective about jiu-jitsu and the way that that's going to take place, because every person is different. So there's a couple people at our jiu-jitsu gym that I have experienced that with. I would love to say names. I'm just afraid that if they listen, I might miss a name and someone may be offended. But there's a handful of people that I've experienced this with. When they first started, I would just pound them, and I didn't have a problem with them. I could submit, I could sweep, I could get around them, I could do whatever I want to do. And I was a purple belt when some of them started. And another, I was a blue belt when they started. So I experienced that very thing. When I started, I was submitting blue belts and got a purple belt once or twice. And then all of a sudden, when I got blue belt, brand new white belts that were starting, beating them up. And then they started to become difficult because they started to understand the game. And then those that started when I was a purple belt, just giving them a hard time, putting it on them, then they learned jiu-jitsu and learned their own game, and they started to get me and started to submit me. Now, this is what I did. One story is obvious, and if this person listens, they're going to know who they are. But I literally disrespected this man's jiu-jitsu. This guy was training no-gi for a long time. I hadn't been there to that class in a long time. I used to go to that class all the time. I stopped going. I went back to that class one day, and I was like, oh, it's this dude. I'm just going to do what I normally do to this guy and just beat him up. Well, that's not what happened. He actually, I don't know if he submitted me. He probably would remember. And if you listen to this and you remember if you submitted me or not, please comment and remind me. But I completely disrespected his growth in jiu-jitsu. I completely disrespected his jiu-jitsu game. But I remember being a very hard roll. And I remember walking to the locker room and I was like, dude. I was like, my bad, dude. I disrespected your JJ. You've gotten so much better. So much better. And that was a big deal for me. Because whenever you get to a certain place in jiu-jitsu, I don't know if purple, brown, and black, if anyone in that rank listens to this. But I feel like when you get to a certain place in jiu-jitsu, you stop getting submitted less. I'm not saying you don't get submitted, right? But it starts to happen less. So then whenever someone starts to give you a hard time or you get submitted, it can just be difficult because you've built up this sense of nobody's got me in a while. And then your pride gets smoshed and you're like, dude, that it just kind of hurts. You know, and it's a good thing. It's a good thing to be humbled. I mean, no one maybe doesn't really like it, but it's a good thing. It's a good thing to be reminded that you still have to grow and you still have to learn. Even if you are purple, brown, or black belt. So what I did was, instead of being upset with myself and being hard on myself, I decided to learn from those guys. And so I began to ask questions about what they were doing, how they were getting better, what they were doing in their game. How'd you do that technique? Please show me. Being willing to learn, even from someone that I feel like I should be destroying, they are teaching me. And I'm gonna tell you, those same people, it's not easy. You know, they are at a place in jiu-jitsu where they are very, very good at jiu-jitsu. And it's been good. It's built friendships. You know, it's built a friendship. It's like whenever I don't know if you've ever been a bully and then like got hit by the person you're trying to bully and then you become friends. Because I definitely did that when I was in middle school. I was trying to be like everybody else and bully somebody. And that dude punched me in the face and then we became friends. So I deserved what I got. I deserved that punch in the face. And then we became friends. So same kind of concept, right? You know, instead of always winning all the time, I'm actually learning from someone that I feel like I, you know, should be beating. And it's just really cool to see that progression of jiu-jitsu. And being at black belt right now, rolling with some of these guys, I'm like, should I have that same feeling? Well, what's weird is a lot of these guys saw me through multiple ranks. And I don't know what it feels like for them to roll with me. I don't know if they look at me and go, I want to get this guy because he's a black belt now. You know, I don't know if they feel that. I definitely feel with a lot of the people that I've been rolling with that have known me for years now, I just feel a camaraderie and a friendship. And yes, they still get me. They know my game so well. I've been teaching this class on Thursdays for almost 2 years, going on 2 years. And I've like basically taught them everything I know and I'm adding stuff all the time to it. And so when I try to do what I'm teaching, or if I try to do something in my game, they just shut it down, which is good because then I have to adjust and I have to learn to do different things within my game. All right, so what was the point of my video today? The point was, hey, listen, people are going to get better. And the guy that starts brand new that you are destroying, he's going to get better. And at some point, he's going to give you a hard time. And at some point, he's probably going to catch you. And that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. You don't need to feel imposter syndrome when that happens. Because I can guarantee you at white belt did the same thing. You started doing better against that other white belt that had been there for a year. And then you started doing really good against a blue belt. And then you possibly caught a blue belt. And then you were giving purple belts a hard time. And then before you knew it, you were like, dude, like, I'm doing well. And then all of a sudden you got promoted. And all of a sudden the tables turn. And then you are the one that is going, whoa, whoa, hey man, you've been here for how long? Oh man, it's been a year already? Dude, you are giving me a hard time now. Yeah, just like you did the other guys. So don't beat yourself up. Don't be hard on yourself. Ask those people questions. Ask them how they got better. Ask them what they're doing. Watch what they're doing. Learn from other people, man. If you can do that, you'll go so far in jiu-jitsu. But if you can't learn from other people, even someone in a lower rank and someone who's getting better, man, you're going to sit in that little pit of bitterness and anger and pride, and probably ain't going to grow as much as you could if you would allow others to pour into you, even people at a lower rank. Now, I don't know how many people have dealt with this. I've had people that I could talk to. A friend of mine who, when he started jiu-jitsu, we met like every week, sometimes twice a week, and we were able to discuss and talk about these things and talk about the struggle and dealing with that. And I don't know if everyone has someone they can talk to, you know. So if you have someone safe you can talk to within your gym, talk to them. You know, when I talk to my wife, she just calls me a baby and tells me to get over it. You know, so, you know, if you can learn from your mistakes, do it. If you're going to be stuck in your ways, do your thing. But I can tell you, I have learned so much from my peers and people under me, you know, and obviously I've learned from those that are above me, but it's so interesting. It's so interesting to watch the cycle and the change and watching people get better. And I could only imagine how people feel that were really far above me and I begin to kind of catch up to them. I can only imagine how they feel. So I want to show honor and respect to those that are over me, just as I would want those that are coming up to do the same for me as I'm doing for them. So if you respect those that are coming up, I'm telling you, they'll respect you. All right, till next time.